Across a narrow strip of land, two nations stand locked in a perpetual stare, a testament to a conflict that never truly ended. This is the story of Korea, a single people torn apart, and the devastating cost when global powers redraw a nation's fate. Imagine a silence so profound it aches, broken only by the rustle of leaves or the distant call of a bird. This is the demilitarized zone, a stark, 4-kilometer-wide scar stretching across the Korean peninsula. It's a place where time seems to have stopped, a chilling monument to a war that paused, but never truly concluded. Here, two distinct worlds exist, born from the ashes of conflict, forever separated by an invisible line of ideology and fear. For 35 years, before the stark division, Korea endured a different kind of subjugation, Japanese colonial rule. A proud people, bound by a shared history and culture, found their identity suppressed, their aspirations for self-governance stifled. Nationalist intellectuals like Shin Chae-ho emerged, fostering a sense of a distinct Korean Minjok, an ethnically defined nation, dreaming of independence and an undivided future. Then came 1945 and the end of World War II. Hope surged for a truly independent Korea. But the war's conclusion brought a new, unforeseen challenge. The victorious Soviet Union and the United States, wary allies now emerging as Cold War rivals, carved the peninsula into two occupation zones at the 38th parallel. What was meant to be a temporary measure, a path to a future independent state, hardened into an ideological frontier. By 1948, these zones birthed two separate states, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea in the north, led by Kim Il-sung, and the Republic of Korea in the south, led by Syngman Rhee. Both claimed to be the sole legitimate government of all Korea. The fragile peace shattered on June 25, 1950. The Korean People's Army, trained and equipped by the Soviets, launched a swift invasion of the south. The world watched, stunned. Within days, Seoul fell. South Korean forces and their allies were pushed to the brink, clinging desperately to the Pusan perimeter in the peninsula's southeast. The United Nations Security Council, in the absence of the Soviet representative, swiftly denounced the attack and called for member states to repel the invasion. The United States, providing around 90% of military personnel, led the charge. Just when defeat seemed inevitable, a daring gamble changed everything. On September 15, UN forces executed a brilliant amphibious landing at Incheon, near Seoul. This audacious move cut off KPA troops and their vital supply lines. Within days, UN forces broke out from the Pusan perimeter, recaptured Seoul, and then pushed north into DPRK territory. Pyongyang fell in October, and UN troops advanced rapidly towards the Yalu River, the border with China. The dream of a unified, non-communist Korea seemed within reach. But the advance towards the Yalu River proved to be a line in the sand for another giant. On October 19, the Chinese People's Volunteer Army crossed the Yalu, entering the war on the side of North Korea. This massive intervention completely surprised UN forces, driving them back towards the 38th parallel. In Washington, President Harry Truman and his advisors were gripped by fear. Intelligence suggested the Soviet Union was the main source of China's weapons, and there was a chilling warning: the USSR might be seeking to precipitate a general war between the US and China, risking a global conflict. Zhou Enlai, China's foreign minister, reportedly declared that a third world war is inevitable. Truman himself noted in his diary, "It looks like World War III is here." The objective shifted from unification to preventing a wider global catastrophe. The war became a brutal stalemate. Communist forces recaptured Seoul in January 1951, only to lose it again to a UN counteroffensive 2 months later. The front lines stabilized roughly along the 38th parallel. Armistice negotiations began in July 1951, but dragged on for 2 agonizing years. The fighting devolved into a grinding war of attrition, with North Korea suffering immense damage from relentless UN bombing. Syngman Rhee, the South Korean leader, refused to sign the armistice, still wishing to reunite the peninsula by force. Yet, the cost was too high, the risk of escalation too great. On July 27, 1953, the Korean Armistice Agreement was finally signed, ending the combat but not the war. It allowed for the exchange of prisoners and, crucially, established the 4-kilometer-wide Demilitarized Zone, or DMZ, along the front line. A joint security area was set up at Panmunjom. The human cost was staggering, around 1 million military deaths and an estimated 1.5 to 3 million civilian deaths. Korea remained split, a nation divided by an imposed boundary, its people forever severed from one another. In the decades that followed, the two Koreas embarked on vastly different paths. South Korea, under leaders like Syngman Rhee initially, and with significant US aid, developed into a modern, democratic, and economically powerful nation, though Rhee's early administration was characterized by authoritarianism. North Korea, under the dynastic rule of the Kim family, from Kim Il-sung to his grandson Kim Jong-un, became an isolated, totalitarian state, prioritizing military development, including a nuclear weapons program. Despite ideological differences, a common thread of nationalist historiography, emphasizing a distinct Korean identity, continued in both nations, fueling occasional talks of unification. Yet, the divide deepened with each passing year, the emotional scars remaining as raw as the physical border. The story of Korea's partition is a powerful echo from the past, reminding us of the profound and often devastating consequences when external powers impose solutions without local consensus. What began as a temporary line drawn on a map by distant powers became a permanent chasm, shattering a shared identity and inflicting generations of suffering. The Korean War, a bloody proxy conflict, solidified this division, leaving a legacy of tension that continues to reverberate across the globe today. It serves as a stark lesson: the true price of power is often paid by those caught in the crossfire, a human cost that endures long after the fighting stops. The echoes of history remind us that the lines drawn on maps can scar generations. While we strive for accuracy, history is always being rewritten. Check our sources in the description for a deeper dive. Thank you for watching, and join us next time as we uncover more untold stories from the past.